here I was now, I was like 34, I guess. And I'm thinking, man, I don't want to go out there and get more broke or more in debt. And like, I want to make a run of this. I don't want to spend a year out there and then come home and go, well, it didn't work, but maybe later.
Welcome to the Rad Actor Mindset Podcast. Each week, we sit down with actors and artists from around the world who have faced and conquered adversity on their journey. Their stories of resilience and passion will inspire and empower you to push forward in your own creative path. I'm Roger Anthony Dumadag, your host, and I'm thrilled to bring you these powerful conversations. Let's dive in and uncover the mindset of success. Hello, everyone. Good morning, and I'm so grateful for today's guest. He is Judd Lormand, who is a TV film actor, has been for such a long time. He has almost 100 IMDb credits, but he is famously known for being Lieutenant Commander Eric Blackburn on the TV show SEAL Team for an amazing 7 seasons, which to me is an eternity. Because if you're lucky to be a series regular on a TV show, you're lucky to get past 1 season or 2 seasons. And so welcome, Judd. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure, brother. It's good to be here, man. And yes, you're right about that, because not many shows get 7 seasons nowadays anyways. You know, that's a rare thing. So
Yeah.
so it was awesome. But no, I'm glad to be here, man. Glad we could sit and chat and do this.
Yeah. So Judd is also my acting coach, my acting teacher, mentor extraordinaire for the last couple of years. I've learned so much from Judd. So we're going to learn a lot from him today. So the first question is, before we get to SEAL Team, because that's a nice juicy steak there, ribeye, is how did you get into acting?
Well, you know, I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, I started doing, like, I was in school plays and, like, grade school. Third or fourth grade, I remember signing up for a play at school or something, like, oh, that'd be cool. And then in middle school and high school, I started doing competitive drama. So, like, on the
wow.
drama team, where not every area in the country has this. It's only in certain areas, but they have like a competitive drama. And you say, well, how do you do competitive drama? And it's like each high school would have a drama team, right? And on the weekends during a certain season of the year, like, I think our season was all year. It was like started like in maybe September, October, and it went
Right.
all the way to the end of the school year. But area high schools, if it was in your area, you would have a drama team on each school. And so they had these category of events. And so you would go on the weekends on a Friday and a Saturday and compete against the other schools in rounds. So, like, if they had duet acting. So you and a partner would get a script. It had a time limit of like 10 or 12 minutes or whatever, where you do these scenes or a scene, and you would go into a round on the weekend tournament, and you'd be against, say, 6 other duet teams. So there might be 6 or 7 in the room, teams. And the judge is going to rank everybody, 6th through 1st or whatever. And they take the top 2 from each room, and then they do a semifinals and then a finals and then placing. And then if you place, it qualifies you for state. So it was like competitive acting, right?
It's
So I
like
did
America's
that.
Got Talent, sort of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Louisiana got talent.
Yeah. So I went to state and nationals, and all that stuff,
Wow.
and did all of that, in middle school and high school. And it was great, man. I loved it. And when I graduated high school, I was like, I had 3 things, Roger. I was like, what do you want to do? It was like, I
Right.
had 3 possibilities. It was like, I either want to be an actor or maybe a lawyer or a pro wrestler.
Well, I do know a little bit about because your sons wrestle,
Yeah, but I wanted to be a pro wrestler, like the WWE stuff.
like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, but then, quickly I wanted to be one of those three things even at the beginning of high school. But by the time I graduated, I was like, all right, I'm not going to ever be any taller, right? And back then you had to be huge to be a wrestler. So
Yeah.
that kind of ruled that out. Like I'm 5'9.5", 5'10" at most. Probably not going to be a WWE champ in my future. So I was like, and then I saw that lawyers like, oh man, that's a ton of school. You got to go to like 4 years, then another 4 years, and then I like to be an actor. But then I found out that I was in Louisiana. I was like, you got to go to LA or New York to do that. And I was like,
Yep.
oh man. So I just put it on the back burner for a long time. Tried,
Wow.
yeah, I did lots of things. I went to school for communications, and then, but I didn't. I mean, I think my major specialty was broadcasting communication, but
Right.
I didn't want to be a news guy. Not that there was anything wrong with it. I was just more into the acting part, right? Um, so I just graduated school. I did all kinds of other jobs. I managed a Hooters. Uh, I was an investment broker for a while. I worked, just all these different jobs. And then probably in the, I guess this was around 2006-ish, I heard that they were filming a movie in New Orleans or a couple movies there. And I'm still managing at Hooters around 2000. This is like 2005. I'm
Right.
managing Hooters, and an old buddy of mine from the competitive speech circuit, he
Right.
went to a opposing school, but we were good friends. He comes into Hooters to pick up some wings to go. I'm like, Marcus, what's up, man? I'm like, we're catching. What have you been doing? Like, oh man, I just worked on a movie, did a movie last year too. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm the guy that's always wanted to be an actor,
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? Where'd you shoot a movie? He's like, in New Orleans. How'd you do that? He said, I got an agent, been doing it for a couple of years. My mind's blown. I'm like, Marcus, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to do? So, that kind of sparked the interest, and spent a year or so. I got an agent in New Orleans, got my first headshots, and said, all right, let me do this. And everyone I talked to, Roger, everyone back then told me, like everyone, meaning like my agent, and then a guy that I took classes with who was a very experienced actor named Gary Grubbs. Um, Everyone kept telling me the same thing. You need to go to LA. You need to go to LA.
Hmm. Hmm. First of all, you caught the acting bug early,
Yeah.
um, which is really cool because I didn't. Actually, I played in bands. I played music, so that was my performative thing. So
Performing. Yeah. Art.
before we go into the next thing, which I'm going to ask you about, because I went about it the wrong way. I went into acting late in my late 20s. I studied 2 years in New York, and then I did theater for a couple of years, and then and like you, like my goal was to go to LA and make it, right? But I had like 20 something, 20 grand in credit card debt. I had I had no plan. You know the saying, if you fail to plan,
Yeah.
plan to
You're
fail.
playing the film.
You're
Yeah.
planning to fail. And I failed with flying colors that first year in LA. And
Yeah.
that's another ball of wax or podcast I'm gonna do by myself. But you did it a different way, which most actors do not do. I know that
Yeah.
because because there's a lot of people in the same boat. So what did you do that
Yeah.
was a little smart, not a little smart, a lot smarter than the average bear?
Yeah, and it takes patience. It definitely wasn't the easiest route. I would say it was, in hindsight, it was probably the smartest thing, but it was definitely not the easy route, right? And sometimes doing the smart thing is a tough decision. But essentially, like around 2005 or six, I can't remember the year, but I had gotten the agent in New Orleans, and I'd booked a couple like regional commercials and stuff, and when there was a movie coming to town, they would, on occasion, I'd get an audition for it. And but the problem was is we didn't get that many movies at the time. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
Louisiana, they had their tax incentive in place, but it hadn't caught on. So you might get maybe one or two films a year being shot there,
Hmm.
and no TV shows there at the time. And
No
So
NCIS, right?
no, that was way before. Yeah, that was late. That was much later. I think it was like 2013 or something,
Okay.
13 or 14. But yeah, this was before all that. And I'm like, man, I really want to do that. I got a taste of it. It's like I got booked on a couple commercials and had a couple of auditions, and that's it. I'm ready to do this. And everyone kept telling me, you need to move. You need to move to LA. My agent told me that. Gary told me that. Another acting buddy told me that. And I was like, and the reason they were telling me that was because at the time, the producers that put these films together, they were not as confident in the market for actors yet. Like they just started shooting there. So they're like, yeah, we'll audition some actors, but you know, I think we'll probably bring them in from LA. So if a movie had 20 characters in it total, they might cast 3 or 4 out of
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana and 15 or 16 coming from LA.
Right, right.
Most of the small things that they cast in Louisiana were like real charactery stuff. So they're like, oh yeah, we could probably get a good redneck here, like because they're thinking it's Louisiana or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you like a clean cut guy, and this is, I remember my agent and my coach Gary Grubbs both kind of said the same thing. They were like, you need to be playing like, a good cop or a friend of the lead guy, maybe, but you're not going to get that here. You got to go to LA for those roles.
Yeah.
And both of them said the same thing. So I'm like, crap. And remember, I didn't want to move, but so I go out to LA to do right before this, I'd worked for Edward Jones and I quit the Edward Jones thing to try to pursue the acting in New Orleans.
Right.
So numbers are on my mind, right? Because in investments, it's all about numbers and graphs and charts. And so that's kind of the way my mentality was at the time. So I said, all right, I'm going to go out there. I got a friend in LA. I'm going to go stay with her for a week or so. And I want to get a good lay of the land, meaning I want to get a real cost of living analysis. Like I could look up what's the cost of living in Los Angeles, but yeah, let me go out there thinking like an actor. Because back then, if you're an actor moving to LA, what did you do? You bartended or waited tables at night, but you had to keep your days open so that you could go to auditions at the drop of a hat, right?
Yep.
So I went out there with that in mind. Like, okay, if I had a part-time job, if I lived in a little small apartment, like what would it really cost me out here? And I do that because what I didn't want, and this is like your story, I was like, at this point, Roger, I was already 30, I guess in 2006, I was probably 33, 34.
Right. Okay.
So I've heard stories. I've heard stories of people that I knew in my competitive acting that moved to LA after high school, right after college, and got into debt and ended up coming home, I'll go back and, well, I didn't, here I was now, I was like 34, I guess. And I'm thinking, man, I don't want to go out there and get more broke or more in debt. And like, I want to make a run of this. I don't want to spend a year out there and then come home and go, well, it didn't work, but maybe later. So I went out there, did the cost of living thing. And I was like, I need a I need a nest egg. Again, I was thinking like investments, right? I need a nest egg of cash.
That was
so
your
that
thing because you had the investment. I mean, that if you
Right,
didn't have that
right.
knowledge, I don't think you would
Yeah.
have thought to plan ahead.
Right. And you're exactly right. And so I figured out, I was like, man, I don't remember exactly the math now. It's been a while, but I remember saying to myself, okay, you're going to get a job and you'll have to get a job. So you're going to barely make your rent, but what happens oh crap, what happens if you got in an accident or you banged up your car? You need to spend $1,200 on something on your used car. Where are you going to get that money? You're not going to have any extra money. Or what happens if you get booked on something and you work 2 days on this show? Yes, but you lose your waiting tables job because of course you're going to take the acting for 2 days rather than the waiting table. And then you go 2 weeks before you get your next waiting tables job. So maybe you need $400, $500 that month to help you with rent. So I was trying to factor in like worst case scenarios. And I said, I don't know how the math worked out to this, but I said I could probably, if I had a nest egg of $22,000 and just use a little every now and then of that, in addition to me making money out there, that would help me stay for 2.5 years if I had a few $100 extra. You know what I mean?
22,000
So now
was a lot back then too.
yeah, it went further than it does now.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone listening now is like, yeah, that'll get you 3 months. But I said, the next challenging thing was, okay, I've got the agent and everything. How the heck am I going to save up 22 grand? And you just quit the investment job to do this acting thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now you're doing, because what I did when I quit the investment job was basically like LA. I was like, I'll work at, I'll bartend at this restaurant at night and I'll DJ the night shift on a radio station so that all my work is at night. But I can be free any day I need to if I need to drive in to New Orleans for an audition.
Right.
So I'm making very little money. Not like I was doing actually okay at Edward Jones, but now it's like, oh crap. How am I going to save up 22,000? So that's when I've told this story a couple times, but I had a buddy who used to come into Hooters all the time, and he would come in sporadically. Like you'd see him every day for a couple weeks, and then he was gone for a month. And so we knew he did something where he worked offshore.
Right.
Because that's a big industry in Louisiana and Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
The offshore.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I knew he made a lot of money.
Mm.
I called him up. I said, Ricky, what do you do offshore? Oh, he said, I'm a MWD engineer, man. I said, okay, what is that? That's mostly computer stuff, Makes pretty good money. Oh yeah, man, good money. And I said, you think you could get me an interview with your company? You want to do this? I was like, yeah. He said, what's your degree in? I said, communications. Oh man, he says, you have to have a degree in either engineering or geology.
Ah.
That's the type of job it was, right? And I said, Ricky, can you just get me the interview? Like, just give me the interview. If they say, well, is he a geology? Just all you do is say, yeah, I think so. Just say yes. You didn't know, whatever. Get me the interview. He said, okay, all right. So he got me an interview, and I went to the interview, and I get in front of this guy's name was Terrence. I still remember to this day. And Terrence is like, man, you're a nice guy. You got a good resume and everything. Great to talk to, Judd, but we only hire geology or engineering majors. I was like, I understand, Terrence. But I said, I come from a family of engineers, okay? Like my dad's an engineer. My cousins are an engineer. My uncle's an engineer.
Wow.
I do. And I said, which doesn't make me an engineer. Okay. However, I do know that one of the struggles that I see sometimes with engineers is teaching what they know. And I said, because they have to invest in you when they hire you at this company, they would send you to an academy in Houston for 3 months to teach you all this stuff, right?
Right.
And I said, Terrence, if you send me to that academy, I guarantee you, 100%, I guarantee you I will pass with flying colors. I will do this job. But then you will have, once I've been doing this for a little bit, you'll have a person that is a communications major. I love to teach. I can teach people this stuff. I can communicate this stuff to others. And he goes, you're saying engineers aren't good communicators? Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, And he was messing with me. He goes, I'm going to give you a shot. Okay. So I got in, even though I wasn't an engineer or a geology major, but I figured out that might be something they need. And so I ended up working that job. And this was the hard part, Roger. I had to call my agent. I had 2 agents at the time, one in Mississippi and one in Louisiana. And I had to call them and say, look, and I was actually booking things. So they were like, what?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I said, guys, I need you to take me off of active for a couple of years, because look, I know if you send me an audition, I'm going to lose this job because I'm going to go for that audition. So don't even send it to me.
Right. And
there was no taping back then. It was in person. Right. I said, I've got to do this because I want to save some money and I want to move to LA. And that's how I was going to get my 22. So I said, thank y'all, take me off of active, but I want a spot when I come back, or if I need it.
Right.
And they said, oh, we would take you back in a heartbeat, babe. Okay. So then I got on this job and I worked this job for 3 years. My plan was to do it for 2 years, but I did three. And put money aside and saved up enough to where I had a good sized nest egg. And lo and behold, right about the time when I got the nest egg all together, right around the 3 year mark, they had started letting me teach others, at that job.
Wow.
And
Wow.
now I'd met my wife and I was about to get married. And she's like, "What are we going to do if we get married?" I asked her to get married. She said, "Yeah." I said, "What are we going to do? Are you going to keep working offshore?" And Roger, I had never told her when we were dating why I took the offshore job. She just thought I was working offshore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, "So the reason I did that was because I wanted to be an actor." She's like, "What?" No clue. So she said, "Well, wait." I said, "Well, so here's the thing. We could either I'll just keep working offshore, but I'll be gone for like 30 days at a time and then home for 10 and then 30 again. Or I could try to do the acting thing." And she's like, wait, move to LA? I was like, no. And this is where the timing came in. Now this is the end of 2009.
Right.
And I had kept up with the industry while I was doing this job for 3 years. I would watch the message boards and the agent posts and all this stuff. And I was seeing that like, it's now not 1 to 2 movies a year. It's like 5 or 6 movies a year now in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of TV series now that are being shot there. And I said, no, I said, I would do it here because it's taken off in Louisiana.
Right.
And she says, "How do you get paid?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't get paid anything unless you get a job." She said, "Well, how many jobs do you think you'll get?" I was like, "Probably not many at first, but, and she said, and we wanted to have kids. And she said,
Right.
"All right, well, we don't have kids right now. So if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it. But you better not be 3 years from now still just sitting around and saying, I want to be an actor and not getting not doing anything." And I said, no, I'm a hustler. Like, don't worry about that.
Right.
I'll make something happen or I'll move right along and make something else happen. And so I kind of knew I had a time limit to show some progress here. But I did tell her, because she's like, "You don't make any money." I said, "But we're good right now where we're in this little apartment. We're not going to expand our lives yet. And the good news is I've got a big nest egg of money that we can dip into when we need things." Because that was what I was saving for LA. Now I've got it here. She said, "Okay, all right."
Wow.
So I started at the end of 09. I called I quit we got married in October. And then in November, I quit the oil company job. And I called my agent and said, "Hey, can we do this again?" And I started auditioning in January of 2010. So,
and you just been banging those out. You've been just like knocking those out of the park. First of all, that is an amazing story in itself. There's a lot of just listening to you was some ahas for me. Like, you thought big picture, first of all.
yeah.
You thought big picture. And for those who the people in the audience is like, they got stars in their eyes and I'm going to go to New York, LA, or even Atlanta, and I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
But you had a plan, number one, which is a great plan. The timing was great too.
Because timing worked out great.
The timing was worked out great because while you were working and building that nest egg, there were more TV and film productions coming to Louisiana,
Yep.
New Orleans,
Yep.
and thirdly, it's I believe that you create your own luck, because a lot of actors say, "I'm going to go out to LA or New York. I'm going to give it 5 years. And if I don't make it, I'm going back home." But it worked out for you because, I really believe it's your mindset, because I've known you for quite some time, and you're definitely a go-getter from all the stories I've heard from you. And I think that's a big thing.
No, I appreciate it. And what's funny is, Roger, like you say, so I've noticed, from my own experiences and from everyone else's journeys too. It's like once a lot of us, especially if we don't get into, let's say you don't get into this, you know, right out of high school, like maybe you decide to do this later on in your
Right.
20s,
Yeah.
30s, 40s, whatever it is. Okay, it's a big step for some of us to go, you know what? I'm going to do this, right? Like I'm going to be an actor. And what happened, what comes with that is when we start getting it all figured out, that's okay, that's what I want to do. The thing is we want to get started now. We want to do it now. And which I did too. When I went out to LA to do a cost of living checkup, my plan was go out there, figure it out, and then I'll be out there in a couple months. Like then I'll move out there. But then when I saw how much it cost and what it would really take, I I had to like go, well, if I really want to do it right, not just do it. Because I could have done like everyone else, Roger. I could have put it on a credit
Yeah.
card and moved out there. But I didn't want to take that chance. So what I was saying at the very beginning is that sometimes the smartest thing isn't the easiest thing, or it's not what you want to do. I didn't want to go work offshore. I wanted to go be an actor. But
Right.
I had to draw a map backwards, like because myself included in certain challenges in life, I want something and I go, what's blocking me? Oh, well, it's because I don't have this. Damn, that sucks. Wish I did. And end of story. But if you stop and go, time out, what if it's money, let's say, well, I need 50 grand to do this thing, to travel the world. I want to see the world before it out. Travel the world. Well, I don't have 50 grand in the bank, so damn it, I can't do it. Maybe later. Or you could say, what would it take to get 50 grand?
Right.
Well, I can't get it at this job. Maybe I got another job that paid more. Maybe what if I cut my living expenses instead of adding to them, which we all do? What if I started cutting things while I increase my income? Well, that would give me an extra 900 a month. Well, 900 a month is whatever that is times 12 is a little over a grand, 1100 or 11,000 per year. So maybe in 4.5 years, I would have 50 grand. So do you want to go travel the world for your 50 grand or not? If you really want it, then you're going to work your butt off for 4 years and then go do it. But you got to draw that thing backwards. You got to, what does it take? What is that going to take? And where am I now? Okay, boom, 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 boom. And it's not always what we want. It's not, that means you can't go travel the world now.
Yeah, it's not the easy decision.
Not an easy path.
And unfortunately, our society is about immediate gratification.
Yes.
And and that's why so many people are credit card debt,
Correct.
But you had the foresight, which is, for those listening or watching, is just a great lesson for not just your acting career, but in life in general. Like you said, if you want to travel the world, and it's if you want to, just anything,
anything
so
you want. Yeah. Figure
yeah,
out if why don't I have it is because I can't, or I don't have, or well, then figure out what it would take to do that.
yeah,
There's a way. Just got to work it backwards. It might take 12 years. It might take 3 years. Hell, some people, depends on what their dream is, it could take 6 months. But sometimes it's not instant like like we would rather it be. But if you want it bad enough, yeah, do it. And it hurt. It kind of stung to like call those two agents and say, take me off of active when I'd just done a commercial or what, like, but I knew it was probably best. You know what I mean?
well, it worked out. It worked out just fine for you, Judd. You've helped me in my auditions and self tapes, and yourself, as well as many other actors. There is a strategy which I believe is great for the mindset, and that's the two takes method. Now, mind you, when I was living in New York and LA, we were in, we're in person. We just
Yeah, everything's in
and then
person.
everything was in person. Uh, for people in the Southeast and Louisiana and other states, it was more self tape. So you definitely had the head start on that. So for you preach a great strategy, which is one take for you, one take for me. Could you
Yeah.
just explain that? Which is
That's a good way to say it. And and it varies. Obviously it varies for every role. There's no rigid rule that you can put on any roles. They're also different. Some casting offices are different. Some shows are different. Some role. I mean, it's always different, right?
right, right.
But just in generally, or generally speaking, yeah, I like to get into the material. Look at the project. Am I familiar with the project? Oh yeah, I know this project. I know the tone. I know the whatever. Okay, and I look at the role. Oh, okay, he's a seasoned detective who thinks this and that. Okay, and then you read the pages they give you, the sides, and you can't help but start to form a picture in your head, right? We all do it. We start to form that picture of what we think they're. We start to mentally picture what we think is the painting that they're trying to paint here,
Right.
and it's usually pretty obvious, right? Like with different descriptive words and pronouns, just the way it's not rocket science a lot of the time.
Yeah. If you read the
That
script,
first take of what they're looking for, you read it right. Okay, yeah, it's not rocket science. And so I'll do one like that where the picture that comes to mind that you want, yeah, I see what you're getting at. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna do it as Judd. I'm gonna put a little Judd into that, but I'm gonna do it the way, quote unquote, they want it, or the way I think it. And then I like to try to, for the next version, for the second take, when they say send us 2 takes, I like to try to, if I can stay within the parameters and do it drastically different, I will. But if I can't with those parameters, with that description, I'll throw the description out sometimes. Because to me, I want drastically different. I'm going to try to do it by the rules, like not by the rules. There's no rules, but I'm going to try to go with the description and see if I can make something fit that's wildly different, right? I'll give you a great example because I used this the other day when I was explaining this to someone. But let's say you're reading for the role. You did a great teacher role that Outer Banks.
Outer Banks, right?
Awesome. But let's say that you're reading for a teacher who has maybe a couple scenes, and it says in the description, it says he's Tommy's middle school teacher who honestly wants the best for his students. And that's about it, right? A good guy who honestly wants the best for his students. Okay, got you. Now, what's interesting about that is like when I went to middle school, I don't know if it's the same anymore with school, but I would say that like probably 75% of my teachers that I had fall under that description. Mr. Ruffin was nice, and I think he generally speaking, he wanted the best for his students. Miss Fry, the same way. Mr. Kidros, the same way. But they were all different. No, they weren't the same person, right?
Right.
Miss Fry was older and almost like a motherly or a grandmotherly figure to us, and was, honey, sweetie. And when you didn't understand, she would explain. Mr. Gidros was a guy who was like tough love, and he would act like a coach, but he loved us and he wanted us to do well. Mr. Ruffin was like the cool, hip, trying to be cool with the guys, but they all wanted the best for us, but they were all different. So sometimes you can give 2 totally different things that actually still fit what they told me to do, right?
Yep.
Other times, maybe it's not so. It's not that way. And then that's when I would say, I'm just going to write my own description for this second take. Maybe he's not a seasoned detective who suspects so-and-so. Maybe he's a just made detective, transferred from a small town, and he's kind of naive. You definitely get one over on this guy. But yeah, I will try to give something that within reason, you know what I mean?
Right.
It has to still make sense, but throw the rule book out on that second one.
So it's great because and I have applied that more now than ever, because what in the situations where I'm allowed to submit two takes, it was usually, oh, this guy, like my character's like, he's, he's, let's say he's angry. No, not angry, but he's like, he's annoyed. And then
Yeah.
the second take would be, now I'm more annoyed.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Which is like,
Oh, that's why I always say,
like
if I'm reading,
degrees.
yes, that's yeah. My example for that, Roger, is I always say is like, because I did this so many times early years, but it's like I'd read and the description was like he's a arrogant Southern deputy. So take one, he's arrogant Southern deputy. Take two, he's a very arrogant, very Southern deputy, right? Yeah, that's what I did too, and I did it for years, and even every now and then, I'll get something in, and it's kind of like that. I might still lean on that. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way, but I just think it's more interesting and it's more fun and it's more satisfying to the artist in us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
To challenge ourselves on that second one to actually let us be in charge of that one.
And,
Like,
and the casting director, from what we've heard, they look forward to your second takes.
yeah. I mean,
Judd
there's
Lormand to Judd Lormand's second takes. I know. I remember hearing from one casting director in Louisiana. I forgot his name. New Orleans.
yeah.
What's his name? I forgot his name. But and you have a great example. If you could just share it really quickly. It's Camp Rocky Ridge. That's a perfect example.
That is a very good example. I forgot about that. When you said you've got an example, I was wondering which one you were going to bring up. That was a great example. That was it was funny you mentioned. So that was first show, and many times, if we get an audition as an actor, we get an audition, and let's say it's an episodic television show.
Right.
If it's something that's already airing, that's awesome because I encourage actors, make sure you watch a couple of episodes of every show that's in your market because that helps know the tone of the show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you get an audition in that's like episode 103 of some show. Well, that means it has not ever aired.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And maybe you do a little research into it and you can't. Maybe it's a silly mockumentary type thing like an Office, and you go, okay, I know, I get the tone. But sometimes, and this was an incident, this camp counselor, where I looked up this show and I read everything I could about it. I Googled it, I did all this stuff, but I still couldn't figure out, is this a dramedy or is it like I just couldn't figure out the tone. So I get this audition in for it and it says Camp Counselor Richard or something. And I read the description and it's like, Caucasian male, 40s, happy-go-lucky, loves his job, the upbeat, stereotypical upbeat camp counselor for the kids. And I'm already seeing the guy like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm already seeing the guy in my head. And then I read the script and it's like, no brainer here. It was like, welcome to Camp Rocky Ridge, where the rocks are rockiest and the ridge is ridgiest. Yeah, you guys are going to have a great week this week. You're the best and brightest. It's going to be awesome. Let's have a tour. And he takes me. Okay. So I read the material. I'm like, this no brainer. However, it was such a no brainer that I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do for a second take here.
Right.
Like, I feel like the picture I've got in my head is so clear of this camp counselor, Richard, that it really kind of prevents you from expanding sometimes. Right.
But
so my reader comes over that day and he knows I'm real big on two takes or whatever. And he reads it with me and he's like, what are you going to do for take two? And I said, I don't know, man. I may not do one. And he was like making fun of me. He's like, oh, Mr. Two Takes not going to do a second take. Yeah. It was like, let's just go shoot this one. So we go shoot it. I get it a couple times. And one of the key points in the audition was I said, I had to get the reader, my buddy, Matty, to echo when I say the rocks are rockiest and the ridge is ridgiest. Because in the script it says he's the head counselor, the other ones are behind him, and they all say it with him, right?
Yeah.
So when I say that, you say it with me, Matty. He said, yeah, okay, cool. So welcome to camera with the rocks, the rocks, the ridges, and go on with the scene. I did it 2 times. I said, all right, I got it.
Right.
That's good. We go sit down and I'm editing it. And because he'd asked me, you want to do another one? I was like, no, I can't think of that. I go sit down and I'm editing it. And all of a sudden a thought pops in my head. It literally made me laugh out loud. I was like, and he's like, what are you laughing at? I said, well, I just thought of a second take. No, never mind. It wouldn't work. I go back to editing. And I'm like, unless, he's like, unless what? I said, I got it. Get up. Come on. Go back in the tape.
Yeah.
And I quickly changed t-shirts. I think I had like a Snoopy t-shirt from taking my kids somewhere. I just had a Snoopy shirt on.
Right.
So I go back in my closet, I grab a different shirt, throw it on. It was a green solid t-shirt. And I said, Maddie, I said, okay, I want you to do the exact same thing you did as the reader before, but this time don't echo me on the Rocky Ridge thing. I said, okay. So what I had thought of when I was sitting there, because I was still shooting SEAL Team when I was auditioning for this. And I was like, what I thought of was, what if Blackburn, my character on SEAL Team, did this scene? This lieutenant commander.
Hilarious.
And I'm going, and which is literally what made me laugh out loud to myself. Like, that's hysterical, Judd.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, but you can't do that, Judd, because, well, he's so complimentary. Like, you guys are the best and brightest of your class. You're going to love it here and all this stuff. The words, you know, it's like a song where the words don't quite fit the meaning or the music.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, and that's when I said, never mind, I can't do it. But then seconds later, what I realized is, oh, if it's Blackburn, what if it's Blackburn, what if he's being sarcastic when he says all that nice stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of played it out in my head and I was like, oh my gosh. That's when I said, let's go. So I step up into the frame and I just said, this one's going to start a little different. He's going to, instead of saying, hey, what's up, guys? You know, I'm going to hit record and I'm going to just stand there staring at these guys like they're recruits in the military, looking at them like they're just pathetic. Welcome to Camp Rocky Ridge, where the rocks are rockiest and the ridge is ridgiest. And that's when I go into, you're all the best and the brightest of your class. Oh, and it's going to be one heck of a week here. Trust me. You know, like, he's full of it, right? He's making fun of him.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought it was brilliant. I mean, to me, like, well, who cares what we think? But I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like, it's so funny to me, right? And it was so different, so funny that I actually changed it when I sent it in, and I made the military guy my take 1, because I was like, if they don't watch the 2 takes, I want them to see this. Like, I want them to see.
Yeah. Because I hate, you know, you want them, because you have this great idea for the second take, right?
Yeah. Got to see this one.
Want them to see it, whether you book it or not. It's like, this is what I can do, because 99% is going to do the first take they send in, and you're kind of like, you want to show them your range, and so
I agree.
That is a great 2-take
example.
2 contrasting takes.
Yeah.
I know Chase Feltzing Paris, they always ask for 2 takes, and you know, and in certain auditions, like you said, every casting office is different. Yes. And so for those auditions that don't mention any number of takes, you send, if it's a smaller role, and you know,
depends on the material, depends. It's like, but most of the time, if it's going to be less than 2 minutes to watch, and I can think of a good second take, then I'm sending 2 takes, whether you ask for 1 or 2. I'm going to send that second. But if it's like, you know, 4 or 5 scenes and the whole thing, the running time is going to be 5.5 minutes, I'm probably not going to send it in 2 takes.
Yeah, it's hard.
Unless, of course, they said, Yeah, unless they said send 2 takes of the 5 minute scene.
Right.
But yeah, but if they don't specify, I normally will shoot two if it's a reasonable time, you know. I mean, I think why not? Like you're trying to audition, you're trying to if you're a salesman and you got a catalog of products, right? And you go door to door, you might lead with a product. Hey, have you seen our kitchen knives? But if you also sell other stuff, would you never mention it? No. Would you not give a brochure at least? Or, if we just bought some knives. Great, great. You have a great ice chest? Just asking. Like if you don't mention, like you're just gonna stop at the no, we already have knives. No, you want to at least leave a card or let them know you can help them with other stuff too, right?
Right. Right.
Same thing with this. It's like even if they don't specify 2 takes, if I'm reading something and I go, okay, this maybe he's a bad guy, right? I don't know. He's a thug or something, henchman, and it says he's a suited up guy with this, rough around the edges, very. And I go, this would actually be good too as a freaking redneck dirtbag. If I know I can do that well, why not do a second take like that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I know you didn't want that. It's a city guy. I know, right? But why would I not at least show them something in my catalog? Because they may have an episode, 2 episodes from now where they need that redneck. So you kind of get to, show them another a tool in your toolkit.
Yeah, it's just
Okay?
like you're showing another shade color of yourself, and it's like I've heard this I've heard this so many times. Oh, he's not right for this role, but there's another role
Yeah,
that'd be perfect for in this.
that's right.
Film. I've heard it so many times.
Yeah, me too.
Where just that happens, but they would not know that if you didn't show it.
That's right.
Not know
That's
that
right.
if you didn't show it.
That's right.
So I want to. I'd love to get into the first for those out there. Those are the two. That's the 2 take strategy. One for you, one for me.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And I wanted to get to. I was on a one of those Zoom calls with agents, and one of the actors asked us, like, what do you think? She asked the agent, what do you think is a successful booking ratio?
Oh,
and the agent was like, had to pause for a second. It's like, he couldn't really give an answer, like a definitive answer, but he did give an answer. I don't know, one out of 100.
yeah, yeah.
Which it really depends.
So
It really depends.
it depends so much that you shouldn't even ask you shouldn't even, yeah.
Right. You shouldn't even. Yeah, I've never, like. What's your thoughts on the booking ratio? Because it can kind of psychologically kind of like take you out.
Yes.
If anything.
So a couple things about that. First of all, it's kind of like asking, it's kind of like, it'd be the same thing as like me trying to call the weather
Yeah. Yeah.
based on like if I'm trying to predict the weather based on my TV reception. That may not have anything to do with that. Like, right?
Right. Right.
You'd say that's insane. That maybe in 1920 that might have worked because it was strictly an antenna, but that doesn't work now. It's cable. Okay. And what I mean by that, the analogy I use by that is like it depends so much on so many things.
So many.
That it's not even a good guide. Because I know people that are freaking fantastic actors who end up getting an awesome gig, right? Mark Ruffalo tells people that he auditioned 500 times.
500. Yeah.
500 times before he got a gig. It's like, So does that mean he sucks? Like if you looked at his ratio when he was 0 for 400, most people would say you suck, right? In another job, like maybe you should get a different gig here. But it doesn't mean anything because there's so many damn factors. So it's like stop looking at the TV reception and figure out the weather. So the second thing I say is because this was actually a very popular thing in Louisiana amongst the actors when I first dove back into this back in 2010.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would talk to other actors and what's your booking ratio, and then booking like 1 out of 20, and but I want to get to like where I'm booking 5 out of 20 or whatever. And I would hear all that and I was like, I just it's something in me was like, this is not the way to think, right? And the more I thought about it, I was like, and I started understanding the business, and I tell people this now. If you look at that, the only thing you should look at is the denominator in that ratio, right? So numerator is the top number, denominator is the bottom number. So what does that mean? Well, don't look at the booking number, look at the audition number. Why? Well, because I can control that one a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And how do I control it? Well, here's how it works, folks. It's like if you booked one job this year, maybe that one job, you got 3 callbacks right before that, but those didn't hit. But the 4th callback, you booked it. Okay, great. Well, how many auditions led to those 4 callbacks? Well, those 4 callbacks were over a period of, say, 6 months. Okay, so the 6 months, how many auditions did you get? I got 25. Okay, so you're 1 in 25, right? Okay, there's one other number that we don't always know, but you can assume it's going to be a bigger number. So it goes from 1 booking, came from 4 callbacks, came from 25 auditions. There's one other number, and that is submissions.
Mm.
Your agent might have submitted you for 35 things, but casting called you in to read for 25 of them, right?
Yep.
So I ask people, I'm like, what, assuming that we're going to do our research, we're going to prepare our material, and we're going to swing for the fences on every audition we do. Okay. That's because someone says, well, I can affect the audition if I try really hard, if I really get it. You should do that for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So assuming we do that for every role we audition for, what number in that sequence can we control most? And I would say to you that you have more direct control over the final number, and that is the submissions. Because what do we really want? If Roger, you say, man, I booked 1 in 30 things. Wish I could have booked 5 in 30 this year. Roger, if I told you you could have those 5 jobs this year, but you need to audition 150 times, you willing to do it?
Yeah.
You'd say yes, right?
Yeah. Every day. Yeah. All day long.
So what that tells me is you don't care about the ratio as long as you get the 5 bookings. Because if you auditioned 150 times and you booked 5, that's your 1 in 30. So ratio is the same, but you got more bookings. So how do I increase my auditions? How do I get more of those? By getting submitted for more things.
More things, right?
So
right.
What do? Well, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm somebody who's never read for a cop, but I probably could. Okay, well, do you have a headshot that suggests that you could be a cop? Maybe. Do you have the something that gives the fatherly nice guy vibe or whatever it is, right? If there's a role that you can do and you don't get read for that, maybe you should get a new headshot for that. Maybe you should, if you know a foreign language fluently, you may have checked it off on your little resume of skills, but have you told your agent, have you go shoot an audition, an old one, speaking the entire thing in your language that you speak, and upload that to your profile, and then let your agent know, oh, hey, I'm sure you remember I speak fluent Portuguese, but I went ahead and added a video on my profile so that you could use that in case there's ever any roles that require Portuguese. Oh, yeah, of course we remembered that about you. They forgot. But now they really know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now that adds to that submission count. Hey, I got another agent in this neighboring market. Now that should get me submitted more because it's a different market, which should lead to more auditions, which should lead to more. So that's the number that you can control. If you're going to look at any ratio stuff, number stuff, don't look at how many roles you didn't get. I don't care who you are until you're at the offer stage. It's like
Right. Yeah.
you're gonna have way more no's than yeses, no matter what.
Yeah. It's numbers game. And this
Yes.
is something that we talked about before, and it can be polarizing, but
Yeah.
it's getting in front of casting directors through these workshops,
Yeah.
locally and nationally. And I've definitely ridden that train, and I definitely um, advise actors to do that, because business, especially in this business, it's all about relationships.
Yes, it is.
And if they don't see you, if they don't know you, if they don't see you perform, how the hell are they gonna
Or
when that
even know,
little of when that little tiny frame of your headshot comes across, like it's like,
or
whereas if you took a workshop,
that's right. That's right. Or even recognize you. Like just, oh yeah, I remember it. Like, how are they going to do that if they don't know you or they've never seen you?
right? Yeah,
So yeah, I know what you said. It can be polarizing. I've never thought it should be polarizing. I think it's a win.
I think it's a win all the time. I do it all the time. I've done it not just in Atlanta, in New York, in
Yeah.
LA. I've done it virtually now do virtual workshops, and it's a way for when I see people again, and like a casting director, and they ask me, and I tell them, hey, this is just like a gym for me.
Yeah, it's a
This is
great
this is
workout.
a workout. I'm not expecting anything. This is like just a way for me to work on the scene. Obviously, they get to see me again as an actor, and
Right.
every touch is, for those of you, the newbies out there, every touch, every time a casting director sees you is a win, because
Yeah.
it just helps your agent. It just helps your agent market you even more. It's like, oh, he's
Camera.
taking a class with Jonathan Strauss or Bowling Misha,
Whoever.
whoever.
Yeah, and some people have told me, well, most of what you hear in the workshops is kind of the same as every other workshop. They tell you this, they tell you that, and I'm like, yeah, maybe so, but I would say to you this: it's like 95% of what they say might be the same that you heard in another casting workshop because they're casting directors. They're explaining the industry and how it works and how their office works. But 1 to 5% might be something unique to them, a pet peeve or a thing that they love. That little nugget alone is worth it. You
Yeah,
put that in your mental Rolodex and say, so and so really digs this or really does not dig this. And that's worth it.
it's more than worth it, and as an actor, it's just like we are the CEO of our business, and we have to invest in our business,
Yes.
and it's an
Yes.
investment in our business, and I really believe, because I've seen CDs, casting directors over the years, like maybe once a year, and it's just a time for me to see them again, even though whether they've cast me or not, and I tell new actors who are looking for agents, right? For people who for those of you out there who are looking for an agent and this and that, the most important thing is really get the casting directors to know who you are, because that's your ammo. When you go see an agent, it's like, oh, I know so and so casting director, I know this casting director, I know this casting director, because that way your agent can, like, oh yeah, he knows this casting director, and
Exactly
and
right.
so many people, like, I need an agent. I got to get an agent. That's going to be my ticket. So
Yeah.
what's your
No,
take on that? For people, for
exactly what you said.
newbies who are like, oh man, if I just get this agent in Atlanta, or if I can just get this agent, that's going to solve all my problems.
Yeah, no, it's probably not. Maybe so, maybe for some people, but
Some people.
most of us, that's not how it ends up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say, those casting things. It's like, dude, if you, like you said earlier, if they don't know you, how are they going to know you? Like, you got to remember, they're looking at thumbnails.
Yeah. Thumbnails. Right.
Roll goes out, submissions come in. They open their screen. Okay, let's go to the role of Deputy Frank. All right, and it's a sea of thumbnails. They don't have all day. They've got to move quickly on to the next role, but they have to go and select a bunch of people to read for this. What is the first thing they're looking for? Like, what happens to you if you're looking through thumbnail? Well, obviously they're looking for people who might fit Deputy Frank.
Right. Yeah.
But when a familiar face comes up that they've read for Deputy So-so before, they go, okay, click, take that one, click, take that one. Recognition.
Yep.
If it's the right type, right?
If it's the right type. If it's the right type.
But recognition is probably the biggest thing that goes through their head. Oh yeah, because they know, okay, that guy, we booked him as a cop before. Boom, 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 boom. Well, how are they going to ever experience recognition with your face if you don't see them?
Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't even mean that you take one workshop. Oh, now you're going to get audition. No, not necessarily. But I think it goes a long way, because then the next time they do see your thumbnail, oh, it's so-and-so. Yeah, let's see what they got. Click them, see. And now you've got to start showing them what you are and aren't right for. And we think we're right for everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they'll go, but sometimes you don't get it. It's not because your read was bad. It's because they go, I just don't see her as the barista at the coffee shop. But she's something else. We'll figure it out. Because that was a good read. Now a month goes by, and then now they read you for the bartender. Okay, she's kind of all right. We're getting there. You know what I mean? So they have to kind of get to know you and what your type is and whatever. But those workshops are great, because that can get you in the door that first time. Then you've got to start showing them what you're good for, what you're right for.
What you're right for. Yeah. I just feel like I do it. I repeat these workshops with the same CDs that I feel that, that have shows that I could fit in that world, or I could, play a part in that world. And even so, for people out there, if you take them once, it's great, awesome. But the next time you see them, you might have booked a job or two, and it's like, oh, okay. And then they see your reel and like, oh, wow, they could play this part. They could play that part. And then the third time, and then the fourth time, and what have you. Obviously you worked a lot. You did a lot of co-stars and day players and guest stars. And then we come upon, if you could share the story, how you got SEAL Team, because that, first of all, congratulations on the 7 seasons. And it's a huge accomplishment as an actor to be series regular on a network TV show and run for 7 seasons. So how did that happen? Thanks for tuning in to the Rad Actor Mindset Podcast. If you got value from today's episode, please share it with a friend and hit that subscribe button. Let's keep building the mindset that gets you on set and keeps you there. See you next time.